buddy. Those little painted roses on your tiny guitar look pretty girly.
On paper, cross-network crossovers are a logistical nightmare. You're asking rival broadcasters to share talent, coordinate schedules, clear music and likeness rights, and trust that the other side won't steal the spotlight. Usually, the lawyers win and the fans lose. But every so often, the planets align and TV history gets a tiny miracle. A character walks off one lot and onto another. A story hops fences between logos, and we all get a moment that feels bigger than just one show. Tonight, we're celebrating those rare times the walls came down, cases and cameos that crossed networks, tones, and corporate egos, and somehow landed perfectly. We'll jump from whimsical law firms to gritty interrogations, from meta-sitcom winks to nostalgia-fueled reunions, and even a few moves that seemed forbidden by contract, but made too much story sense to ignore. These aren't just gimmicks. They're proof that when the story is strong and the audience is hungry, even rivals will deal. If you love TV deep cuts and those, wait, they can do that moments, you're in the right place. Smash like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell, because we're crossing universes that were never supposed to connect. 8. Ally McBeal, Fox, The Practice, ABC. Industry rule. Number 1. Fox and ABC do not hold hands. And yet, for one wild night in 1998, David E. Kelley made it happen. The case began on Ally McBeal in The Inmates, all oddball rhythms, bathroom epiphanies, and Barry White grooves. Then, without breaking tone, the story continued across the street on ABC's The Practice and Axe Murderer, where the same legal nightmare was reframed through granite gray realism and moral ambiguity. 2 hours, 2 networks, 1 case file. Why it shouldn't have worked is obvious. Direct competitors with clashing vibes. Ally is heightened and playful. The Practice is clinical and severe. Each show's audience tuned in for different flavors of legal drama, but Kelley threaded a needle. He built a case strong enough to survive the tonal jump, used overlapping guest stars as connective tissue, and embraced contrast as a feature, not a bug. Watching the same problem filtered through 2 legal philosophies felt like a TV lab experiment, the narrative equivalent of changing lenses mid-scene. The kicker? It didn't feel like a stunt. The Ally Hour provided moral chaos. The Practice delivered the verdict. The event respected both brands, grew both worlds, and proved that if the creative center is unified, even the network logos can fade into the background. For a medium famous for corporate silos, this was a flex and a promise. Under the right circumstances, impossible collaborations are just very difficult ones. 7. The Practice, ABC, Boston Public, Fox. Lightning struck twice. After Ally The Practice, Kelley ran the play again, this time moving from a downtown law firm to the hallways of a public school. The story opened on ABC's The Practice and finished on Fox's Boston Public, folding courtroom stakes into classroom consequences. Think about that. 2 different cities of television, judges and juries on one side, teachers and teenagers on the other, sharing the same ethical earthquake. Why this should have failed. Audiences don't typically migrate between professional dramas and ensemble school shows, and the networks had every incentive to guard their sandboxes. But the handoff was elegant. The Practice framed the legal dilemma. Boston Public showed the human fallout. 1 hour asked, "What's lawful?" The next asked, "What's right for these kids tomorrow morning?" Instead of forcing characters to contort to a crossover, Kelley picked a case that naturally spilled from courtroom to campus, then let each series process the shock in its native dialect. The result felt expansive without being bloated. You didn't need both hours to track the story, but seeing the complete arc rewarded you with texture. Policy in one episode, consequence in the next. It's a reminder that the best cross-network events don't pace 2 shows together. They expose where their worlds already touch, then trust the audience to follow curiosity over brand loyalty. Twice in 4 years, Kelley showed the industry that rival doesn't have to mean radio silence. 6. Homicide, Life on the Street. NBC, The X-Files. Fox. Detective John Munch is TV's great hitchhiker, a conspiracy-loving Baltimore cop who wandered through more universes than any other primetime character. His most surprising detour? Fox's The X-Files. In Season 5's Unusual Suspects, a pre-Mulder and Scully caper with the lone gunman lands in an interrogation room, with Richard Belzer's Munch waiting on the other side of the glass. No banners or trumpets, just a deadpan cameo that made two competing networks feel like neighboring precincts. Why it shouldn't have worked, stylistically, Homicide's handheld verite and The X-Files' paranormal paranoia live in different galaxies, and NBC and Fox weren't exactly swapping baseball cards. But the appearance was surgical, a single scene that kept the gunman's origin intact while quietly validating the idea of a larger, messier TV map. Munch didn't bring a subplot with him. He brought credibility. The sense that a detective who's seen everything might plausibly stumble into a government-adjacent weirdness. The genius of this crossover is restraint. By refusing to make the moment bigger than the story, it somehow made the story bigger than the network. Fans of Homicide got a sly nod. X-Files diehards got a textured street-level counterpoint to their favorite conspiracy theorists. And everyone got the thrill of realizing that the logos at the top of the hour weren't iron gates. They were just signposts. One weary detective, one sharp wink, and two worlds clicked into the same constellation. 5. Community, NBC, Cougar Town, ABC. Meta jokes rarely leave the bubble. Community built a running bit that Abed was obsessed with Cougar Town, an ABC sitcom that could not have been more different in tone or brand. Then, in a glorious payoff, Abed actually appears, silently, briefly, in Cougar Town's Season 2 finale, sitting in the background like a Where's Waldo reward for anyone who'd memorized Greendale lore. NBC to ABC, fan fiction to fact, punchline to screenshot. Blink and you missed it. Catch it, and you felt like TV had let you in on a secret. This shouldn't have worked for a dozen corporate reasons. Studios guard IP, network promos don't usually elevate competitors, and canon is a minefield when shows aren't under the same umbrella. But this cameo was frictionless because it took almost nothing. No plot demands, no billing wars, no tone clash. It functioned like a post-credits scene for people paying attention. The brand impact was all upside. Community got myth-making fuel. Cougar Town got cred with comedy obsessives, and both earned social buzz way beyond their Nielsen weight class. Most crossovers shout. This one whispered, and that's why it sings. By making the gag diegetic, the shows honored their audience's intelligence and proved that shared universes don't have to be heavy-handed or serialized to feel magical. It's the platonic ideal of a cross-network Easter egg. Easy to clear, delightful to spot, and entirely optional unless you care. In which case, it's everything. 4. Buffy, UPN. Angel, WB. Buffy the Vampire Slayer's network hop from the WB to UPN in 2001 was a divorce that seemed to end crossovers dead. Angel stayed behind on the WB, and the rules were clear. No more back and forth. And yet, in 2003's Orpheus, Allison Hannigan's Willow Rosenberg walks into Angel Investigations to yank a friend's soul out of the abyss. It's a character rescue that doubles as a corporate miracle. UPN's witch saving the WB's vampire with a single spell and a lot of history. Why it shouldn't have worked is obvious. Contract restrictions, network pride, and the danger of confusing audiences who hadn't followed Buffy across the dial. But the exception made narrative sense. Willow's growth into one of the Buffyverse's most powerful magic users gave her unique authority to resolve a crisis Angel's team couldn't solve alone. The cameo was contained, no two-parter, no ad blitz, yet emotionally massive for longtime fans who'd watched these bonds forge across years. Crucially, the hour honored both shows' identities. Angel kept its noir mood and moral weight, Willow brought warmth, wit, and the sense that even after a breakup, chosen family still answers the call. It's the kind of crossover that feels less like a stunt and more like a promise. When the stakes are high and the character logic is airtight, the rules can bend without breaking. Sometimes the best treaties are written in story, not ink. 3. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, NBC, The Jeffersons, CBS Legacy. There are cameos, and then there are coronations. When Sherman Hemsley and Isabel Sanford returned as George and Louise Jefferson on The Fresh Prince, the Banks family didn't just host guests, they hosted royalty. The mid-series appearance in Season 5 was a joyous cultural handshake, a 70s CBS powerhouse strolling into a 90s NBC juggernaut, trading barbs with Will and reminding everyone that TV dynasties don't retire, they echo. Then, in the 1996 finale, the Jeffersons came back with a twist worthy of both shows' swagger. They buy the Banks mansion. Why this shouldn't have worked. These were icons from a different era and a rival network, and Fresh Prince had its own carefully tuned tone, hip-hop rhythm, heartfelt lessons, and fourth wall mischief. But the crossover layered nostalgia onto confidence. It let Fresh Prince flex as part of a longer lineage of black sitcom excellence while giving the Jeffersons a victory lap that felt earned, not embalmed. What makes it sing is character chemistry. George's bluster meeting. Will's playful defiance is perfect TV math, and Louise's steadiness slides right into the Banks household dynamic. No plot gymnastics, no contrived doorways, just the pleasure of seeing legends share a frame and history fold into the present. It's proof that the strongest connective tissue in television isn't corporate ownership, it's audience memory. 2. Diagnosis, Murder, CBS, Matlock, NBC and ABC. By 1997, Ben Matlock had already lived a full TV life, born on NBC, matured on ABC, and retired with his seersucker intact. That's why his guest shot on CBS's Diagnosis, Murder felt both impossible and inevitable. In the two-parter Murder 2, Dick Van Dyke's Dr. Mark Sloan turns to the most famous Southern lawyer on television, and Andy Griffith strolls in like a living precedent. Different networks, different eras, one instantly recognizable moral compass. Everything about this should have been a rights headache, but the mechanics vanished the moment Griffith opened his mouth. Matlock didn't just cameo, he recentered the room. The crossover smartly used him as a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. Consultative presence, razor-sharp cross-examination, and a humane perspective that reframed the case without hijacking Sloan's show. For longtime viewers, it was catnip, the cozy mystery vibes of Diagnosis. Murder cross-pollinated with Matlock's courtly grit. Most importantly, it respected continuity. The episode acknowledged Matlock's history without demanding homework, turning brand baggage into character depth. You didn't have to know the NBC years or the ABC tenure to feel the weight of a legal legend returning to work. You just had to watch him do what he does best. If cross-network deals are usually about marketing math, this one was about customer satisfaction. Give the people a great lawyer when they need one, and they'll follow him anywhere. 1. Kenan and Kel, Nickelodeon. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, ABC. TGIF meets Orange Soda. In Sabrina's Season 2 finale, Sabrina's Choice, Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell pop in for a giddy, fizzy cameo. Nickelodeon kidcom energy teleporting into ABC's Friday Night Magic. On paper, these worlds shouldn't intersect. Different corporate parents, different target demos, and completely different comedic textures. On screen, it's a sugar rush of crossover joy that lasts just long enough to feel special and not long enough to overstay its welcome. The secret is framing. Sabrina's universe literally has portals. Canonically, she can make wild things happen with a finger point. That gives the writers permission to import Kenan and Kel as a quick, magical what-if, sidestepping the heavy lifting most cross-network events require. No tangled arcs, no multi-episode arcana, just a gleeful nod that acknowledges how kids actually watched TV in the 90s, flipping between Nick and ABC on the same night. It also works because the cameo respects both brands. Kenan and Kel get to be themselves. Big reactions, rhythmical banter, while Sabrina keeps its whimsical heartbeat. The crossover didn't try to merge tones. It let them bounce off each other like a perfect button on a Friday night. In a landscape where IP often feels gated, this was a rare open door that said, "We know what you love. Here's 2 scoops at once." Conclusion. So what do these unicorns have in common? First, a story that justifies the jump. Whether it's a single interrogation, a case that spills from courtroom to classroom, or a witch saving a vampire. The plot answers the why now, before the lawyers even get to how. Second, characters strong enough to carry their identities into foreign airspace. Munch, Willow, Matlock, the Jeffersons, these aren't just guest stars. They're gravitational fields. Third, humility. The best cross-network moments don't bulldoze another show's tone. They slip in, do their job, and leave both worlds richer. And yes, there's business logic behind the magic. Shared creators, studio overlap, promotional synergy, but none of that matters if the moment doesn't land for viewers. These crossovers worked because they felt like gifts, not boardroom stunts. Surprising, satisfying, and strangely inevitable once you saw them happen. Your turn. Which improbable team-up did we miss? The 90s and early 2000s were sneakily generous with these one-night alliances, and there are always more rabbit holes to dig. Drop your picks in the comments. Tell us the scene that made you cheer, and if you want a part 2, maybe with animation and PSA oddities, say the word, like subscribe, and we'll keep breaking TV's invisible walls one door at a time.